Hello, I'm Bill Blier, Acting Inspector General for the U.S. Department of Justice. Today, my office released a web-based interactive report on the Federal Bureau of Prisons' efforts to place inmates close to home. The First Step Act of 2018 requires the BOP to place inmates in facilities as close to their primary residence as possible and, to the extent practicable, within 500 driving miles. Placing inmates close to home during incarceration reduces recidivism, eases the harm to family members separated from their loved ones, and helps strengthen family ties. We reviewed the BOP's compliance with the First Step Act and identified concerns. First, BOP's inmate placement data showed that 33% of the inmates we evaluated were at institutions over 500 miles from their release residence. However, we found that the BOP's distance data was as the crow flies instead of driving miles as required by the First Step Act. This resulted in an undercalculation of inmates located more than 500 miles from their homes, meaning that about 40% of inmates were located over 500 miles from their homes. Second, BOP policy requires staff to note the reason for an inmate's designation to a facility in its inmate management system. However, in about a quarter of the inmate files we sampled, we could not verify that the inmates were placed as close to home as possible due to lack of documentation in the system of the reason for the inmate's placement. In some cases, we identified multiple BOP facilities that were significantly closer to the inmate's residence and appeared to meet the designation requirements for the inmate. Third, the First Step Act requires the Attorney General to report on the number of inmates housed more than 500 miles from their release residence from 2020 to 2025. However, we found that the information provided to Congress was based on the BOP's as the crow flies mileage calculations, not the driving miles distance required by the First Step Act. Our review of the BOP's data also found inaccuracies in inmates' addresses, potentially affecting mileage calculations. The BOP is making efforts to comply with the First Step Act, but we made 3 recommendations to the BOP to assist it in ensuring that inmates are placed in facilities within 500 driving miles of their primary residences to the extent practicable as required by the law. To read today's report and view our interactive dashboard, please visit our website, oig.justice.gov, or go to oversight.gov. Thank you for joining me today.